So last week we were seeing about the rain and what are all the other planets that has caused rain throughout the universe. So I didn't finish the actual story last week. So I'm going to continue a little bit on what has happened so that it can be useful for you to know what is going to happen in this episode. But you can see the title of this episode can be seen on the top. Even still, I'm going to continue a little. So, you know me and you know all my nine other friends who have been traveling with me. So, we were learning about what is rain and what are the ways in which rains and precipitations happen. How is the rain measured? What is a satellite and what is the satellite used for measuring Saturn's rain clouds? What is happening in Enceladus? All these things we will see. So, the last part of the week was uh, what were we doing in all the other planets. So we were mostly on the solar system and we did not go beyond solar system. So but there were two things that you can see. There was HD 189733b and OGLE TR56b. So what are these two? So Moon asked us what are these two planets, and that was the time it was told that it was exoplanets. So what is an exoplanet? So that is what we are going to see today. So all the time that we have seen only the planets that are in our solar system, that is from Mercury to Neptune, and we were on the point of knowing what is HD 189733b. So and OGL TR56b. So what is this exoplanets and how is life happening in these exoplanets? So that's what you see. So what is an exoplanet? Exoplanet is basically a planet which is revolving in a different solar system. That is something other than our sun, which is
Hi,
being,
sir.
hi. So something that is revolving apart from our sun, which is a little far away from us. And there are many planets which are being found over the last couple of centuries, and these are never ever meant to be called as planets. They thought that this was some kind of a star because everything that we look up is something like a star for us. So how did the scientist find this? So there are many ways in which scientists can find it, but the very basic way we can find it is by noticing how the star wobbles. So what happens is whenever a star is being observed through a telescope, if you are looking straight at it, there might be a chance that it will go front and back. This is called wobbling motion. This is due to a thing called motions of planetary system. That is, there are three laws of planetary motion which is being formulated by scientists, and the Newton was the first one to create all these principles. So whatever was observed was having a slight shift in its motion. So something that is making it pull and push. This is called centrifugal and centripetal force. But for this is happening only when the planet is very big, that is as big as the sun itself. These are called very giant planets. Say like these will look at least 5 to 6 times bigger than our Jupiter. So all these things are observable when it is very big in size. But what about the small ones? What if it's a very small planet like our Earth? So that's the question comes, where they can observe it using a different method. They'll pick up a light source and they look at it. The biggest light source must be the sun or some other star. So when they look at that star, when there is a small dip in its light, so if it is very bright for some time, if there is something like a very little point of eclipse, if it moves away, then they are sure that there is a small planet in between that sun and us. So like this way, they measured the transit between every pass. Even transit happens in our Earth also. Whenever there is a Mercury, Venus, or Moon transit is called as eclipse, lunar eclipse. Or if we fall in between the sun and the moon, it becomes solar eclipse. So this eclipsal action, that is between a planet and another star, becomes a reason for us to identify that. It doesn't stop there. It becomes next mathematical things. So now who and all like math, they are going to like what is going to come next. So they are going to find a lot of forces and actions that are happening in between. I told you about centripetal and centrifugal force some long time back when we are going to Mars. So what they did, they tried to find, okay, If this is this big and if this is so big, then it has to be a planet. If this is both of same weight, then it has to be both stars. So there are systems, that is planetary systems, which have binary stars, that is two stars. Our solar system has only one star, that is, and the entire thing is being captured by our sun. What if our sun had a little brother? Say it has one big sun and a very small sun next to it. These are called binary systems, and there are many planetary bodies that go around it. So what they did, scientists found a way, and they used a time dilation principle. Okay, imagine, okay, you start from here, that is from Earth, and you travel out of the Earth. You take a plane and land on the other side of the planet. What is the other side of planet? Okay, I'm in India. What is the other side of India? If I take a globe around.
Can you give a clue? Is it US?
Okay, it is somewhere in the Americas, either North America or South America. You can go on the other side of the planet. Okay, what is time now in India? What is the time now?
5:39.
5:39. Okay.
5:39.
What is 12 hours behind us? What is 12 hours behind us?
The US time.
Okay, so what is it? What will it be now? 5:39 a.m. at their side. Correct? Right? So somewhere around that time, there will be another planet person standing there and waiting for us. So when these two people, that is from either side of the world, look at an object that is at a very far distance, say like another star, they can able to understand that when it moves in a straight line. So this is point A and this is point B. So when these two people meet each other, they are able to see a different point in time. Correct? Now at 5:30 in the 5:40 in the evening and 5:40 in the morning. So when we look at our clocks, we can able to compare the diameter or the circumference of our planet. So if we observe something even far distance, we can able to know the distance of the other planetary body. So that's how people have been discovering a different. So whenever they look at an object, say like a very small transit, that is, if it takes so much time for the planet 1 to move from this side to this side, it means it has to cover so large distance. So the light has to go down, it has to be dark for some time, and then it has to go up again. So by noticing this very small difference in light, they are able to measure the size of the star and the size of the planet. So like that, everything is measured using mathematics. And what happens next, our very important scientist comes in and he says, this is not the easy way to do, we have to do it with relativistic time, that is using the Einstein's field of general relativity. So this is very little bit too complicated for a 7-year-old or a 14-year-old. This is, I can simply explain it as, whenever there is an object which is taking up its own mass, say like something like our sun, which is very huge, which is massive. If you want to try to hug our sun, we need to form at least some 30-40 billion chains and we have to hold it together. That is how big it is. So with that kind of constraint, what will happen to a very small person like us? Will we have any effect on that big planet? That is the Einstein's general theory of relativity. I will explain it later in this time, not now, because it is too big for you. So using this, we started to know that there is different planets in different solar systems, and these solar systems are fundamentally following some kind of space-time principle. That is, they have different rotation motion, they have centripetal force, centrifugal force, different climate, different surface, different temperature. All these things are coming up in every planet. And Moon got little curious. What is space-time? What is time and what is space-time? For which the Neptune said, it is not the right time for us to know. We'll know about it a little later. When we get to know about black holes, what is pulsars, quasars, and all these things, when we get to know about this, we will know about what is space-time, because that is the first way to know what is space-time. So not today. Okay. So take for example a scientist. This scientist is right now taking a telescope and he is observing it in such a way that he is servicing it. So he is trying to service, polishing the glass and mirror so that it can start to process all the images. So the images comes in such a way. So there is something like a star 1, there is a star 2 and star 3. They took photographs for every day for 3 months. When there is a very clear sky, they started taking photographs for every day at the same time. So 5:40, 5:40, 5:40, 5:40, 5:40 in the evening, they took photographs of the same star location for about 6 months. Then after that, after 6 months, they try to observe it. They will find a time in the way in which there is a small change in the brightness of the star. So they'll open an Excel sheet, they started typing all the numbers. So after 6 months, when they start typing all these numbers, they will try to find a pattern. That is, when there is a more light, when there is less light. So whenever this goes up and down, like the squiggly lines grow up and down, they are able to see there is a small change. So each time they compare, so with one star with another star, they are able to know mathematically that there is a small slight change in difference. See, there is one time on the 91st day, there is a high peak. So this means there has to be a bright shift between one star and another star. That is, some kind of object has to pass through it. So it has to be a planet, it has to be a comet, it has to be another star. So many things have to come in between. So by comparing all these things, when they try to see, it is known that either one of them has to be a very big body like a planet or a very small thing like a sun. So with this, they created the chart. So what they found was, there are not only one world, there are many planets across the entire universe which are very good for staying. This is called Goldilocks zone or the habitable zone. Okay, who is Goldilocks? Have you heard of this story called Goldilocks and the three bears?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was the story?
Goldilocks and the bear.
Yeah, okay. What does she do? What does Goldilocks do?
She goes to a house of a bear and eats the food and sits in the chair and sleeps in the bed.
Okay.
Then the bears get angry and they tell her not to come inside.
Okay. So what happens is, this Goldilocks is been thinking that all the while there was another human in that house, but it was not a human house, it was a bear's house. So for a person to live, they need to know what the other animal or other aliens give it. So we are now humans, we are looking at the space and we are imagining that humans like us can stay in the other planet if they also breathe oxygen, if all the planets have the same carbon dioxide, they have water cycle, they have hydrogen cycle, they have nitrogen cycle, all these things become a Goldilocks zone for them. So that if they go and sit in the chair will be comfortable. The chair will be not triangular in shape, rectangular in shape, whatever shape, it will be very good for us. We will have 1% gravity, we will not have 0% gravity, we will not fall into the down and we can't get up. All these problems will not be there in that planet. That is called habitable zone. So with that, we were able to find which is the best place for every star to have a habitable. So we know Earth. Earth is somewhere in between Venus and Mars. Okay. So this is the place where in which it is not so cold and not so hot. So this place, when we start to find in the other planetary systems or other star systems, we are able to find either if it is very hot or very cold, this is the place in which it can stay. So scientists found that this is the place where we are looking at. So every star, they started finding unique planets. So all these planets had some kind of little rich mixture of oxygen, some had nitrogen, some had methane, some had glass, some had iron, all these things were there. So we are going to take one planet. So one solar system, that is called Gliese 581. So what is so special? I will tell you. So Gliese 581 has about 10 of the known planets, which is one of them has very big size, that is about the size of our planet itself. So 581G and 581C are so close that they are very good for our home to be. So if we go and travel to that planet and if we start staying there, there can be little bit of life there. So what they did, scientist was very curious. Okay, if there is a planet which has the same size same mass, same amount of gravity, and that is around, say, only 20 light years from us, what will you do? Okay, today it's birthday for someone, right? Okay, so what will you send them?
A gift.
Okay, a gift
A gift.
or something else. They will send a card.
A greeting card.
Okay, a greeting card. So exactly that is what scientists did. What they did, they sent a message in the year 2008. I think whose birthday falls in the year 2008? Anybody? Somewhere close to that?
And 2009, sir.
Okay, so 1 year before your birth, they had sent a message. So that message is going to reach Gliese 581c in 2029. Okay, so when will it come back to us? When will that message come back to us? If it is 20 light years away. If there is a very intelligent life species in the planet 581c, it has to come back to us in the year 2050. Obviously, if they are very friendly people, if they are very friendly in nature, they are going to reply back. So what we have sent many messages. We have sent around 501 messages through a radio telescope to that particular planet. It is in Gliese 5, and it is going to take 20 years for it to go and travel there. From there, it is going to come back another 20 years. So by 2050, either we are going to receive high Earth if we have sent that message, or otherwise they'll come with the big chunks of rock, or they'll bring us some kind of weapons and they'll try to destroy us. If it happens, we don't know. If they are very friendly people, then it is fine. If they're very egoistic or very angry people, they might send some weapons to kill us.
Sir, is there life in that planet?
It is presumed so, because whatever we are observing from our side, that is a planet of our Earth at another planet, we are observing that there is a kind of activity in the upper atmosphere. I told you about how rains form, how planet has methane cycle, water cycle and all, right? It is observed from the atmospheric data that there is a kind of activity happening in the surface of 581. That is, there is water evaporation, there is rain formation, there is a kind of hot and cold climates happening in Gliese 581c. Scientists are observing it over the period of last 10 years. So they presume that there has to be some kind of life staying there at the planet of Gliese 581c. So next planet is 581d, which they are also finding a little curious, because they are found to be a little bit of methane and other systems there, and it has also got very good rich atmosphere, and the temperature is very favorable, but it doesn't rotate. It stays at one place and it is looking all the way at the same sun for all the time. Next, 667c, it's a little hot, it's a little warmer, but there is water there. So all these planets that what we are looking at have an index of Earth similarity. So if Earth is considered as planet 1, so if we have a score of 1.0, Gliese 667c and HD 85512b have a very close proximity to that. But there is one planet which has been made the Earth 2.0. If there has to be a planet so similar to Earth, it has to be that one particular planet. Any guess which planet it can be?
Kepler 45.
Almost there. It is a Kepler system.
Kepler 22b.
No, not Kepler 22b.
Kepler 47b.
No, not Kepler 47b. It is Kepler 452b. It is so massive, it is so big, and it is also got so much of features that our planet has, but for the time being, it will take about 1400 years for us to reach there. So if you have sent a message now, so we have been sending, there is a search for extraterrestrial life. There is an institute for search for extraterrestrial life, which has sent a message in the year 1990. I presume 1990 or 1992. I don't know. They have sent a message, and it will take about 3500 or so year for us to observe a message. So they will receive that message in the year 3500, and after that they will send us back a message probably by the year 6000 or 5500 or something like that. So Kepler 452b is called as Earth 2.0, which is so close. It has the perfect score. It has the Earth similarity index to the Earth year 1. So if we are observing it right now, there must be some kind of intelligent life at that planet, and we are expected to communicate with them in the next 1000, 2000, 3000, 5000 years on the future. So one day they might even come and invade us if they have very advanced technology. So we are right now in the safe place. So we are not going to be attacked for the next foreseeably another 30-40 years. Maybe the year 2050 we are going to be communicated by the planetary system from Gliese planet. So apart from that, we are not going to have any worries. So this is all the way in which we can see. So every planet is unique and every star system is unique. So we have habitable worlds with different sunrises and sunsets. There are so many things happening in the other worlds, and someday in the future we will have our cousin brother or a cousin sister living in another planet. So this has been happening. So next thing I want to point you out is something coming up right now. Okay, there is a breaking news. Okay, there is a new news coming up. So the news is there is going to be some kind of special news about Mars. We are heading to Mars again. Where are we going? We are always out of our solar system. We are almost out of Neptune now. So we are going to another planetary system. It is towards other planets. And now we are hearing about Mars. What is so special about Mars? We are going to see 3 probes landing in the next 3 weeks. And what are they? What are they so special about? They are about 3 countries. One in China, one in Emirates, that is Middle East, another in America. So all these 3 countries are going to send different probes to the planet Mars. So why is that so special? So what are we searching for now at Mars? What is the special ability about these missions? We are going to see in the next episode. So why are we going back to Mars? I'm going to tell you in the next week. So this is what we saw today. What we saw about what are exoplanets, how is scientists identifying them, why is Earth is also an exoplanet. So for us it is not. For another people who is living in Kepler 452b, it might be. And what is so special about Gliese 581c, and when are you going to get reply from 581c? That is what we saw today. And if you have any questions, you can ask me.
So, why do they keep it as Kepler or Gliese? Can't they just keep any name like Earth or Mars?
Okay, there is a international union called International Astronomical Union, that is called IAU. What they happen to do is whenever they find a star, because there are many stars in the sky, okay, you can't possibly know, there might be billion stars in the sky, and each star has its own number. That is the easy way for them to name all the stars. So whenever there is a star and whenever they find a very close planet onto it, they will name that star and they'll name the planet with that name. So if there is a star called Lakshya, the star called Lakshya. So Lakshya has around 6 planets. Okay, Lakshya, 4th planet, if it was first discovered, so it will be called Lakshya 4b. That is the first name for that planet. If there is another star that is being found, they will be named Lakshya 5c, Lakshya 6c. So they'll start naming based on the star and the planet's distance and the distance from it. So Kepler is a satellite they used for finding that star system. There are so many stars, and they are making it easy for them to remember in such a way. You can also suggest your name for the planetary system. If you become an astronaut, you can ask, I want my name to be in a planet. You can ask, Lakshya will be named after a planet. You want your name to be in a planet, right? No, you don't want to be. Okay, fine. No, you want to be. Nitin wants to have his planet's name. Okay. Okay, how long do you think for us to receive a message from Gliese planetary system? When will we receive?
Sir, Master Samyukta sent a question in the chat box.
Just when there is a planet very far away from us and there is life in there. Okay, there is a system of finding habitable zones. I told you about Goldilocks example. So Goldilocks needs, she wants to eat some food, take some rest and sleep on couch. That is when the bears come and find it, right? So for us to go and stay there, what do we need?
Lots of things.
Okay, basically humans, what do we need? What do
Oxygen, water, food, gravity.
Okay, whatever you said, all the 4 things. If you go and land on a planet which has about 30% or 40% oxygen, can you stay on that planet?
No, sir.
Why no?
It should be accurately what the Earth or nearby it should be there.
Okay, I'll give you an example. What does the atmospheric composition of our planet? What is 70%?
What is there in the atmosphere, sir?
What is 70% and 30% and 10% in our atmosphere?
70. Nitrogen is 78% and oxygen is 21% and other 1% of other gases.
Okay, so if I have a planet which is only 30% oxygen, can I stay?
No, sir.
Why can't we stay? Okay, the next question I'll ask. If it has...
Yes, because there is only oxygen.
Okay, very good. Because it is easily combustible. That is, it can burn very easily. What if there is nitrogen, oxygen and other gases? Can you stay there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now it is better. All these things, when you start to notice, there is, if you have oxygen with other gases, if you have water with all the other things that you need, and if you have gravity that is 1%, that is 70-80% matched with it, all these things are observable when you look in through a telescope. Okay, you can ask next question. If how do we find gravity in a other planet? How can you know gravity in another planet? Any guess?
Because of the color or shape or something.
No.
Can I ask another question, sir?
I'll ask. Okay, can you ask? Can you answer? Try to answer this. How is gravity taking you? How are you in gravity when you are inside water? How is gravity acting on you? If you are inside water, you are trying to.
It's pushing us inside.
It is pushing you inside. Okay. If I have a rubber ball in my hand, where is it going to act? Is it going to act on you or on the rubber ball?
On the rubber ball.
Okay, so it is going to make you float. Okay. If you keep holding on that rubber ball, you are going to float. You will not sink. Okay. Like that, every planet has actions that comes with gravity. So if it is so close to the parent star, it will have more gravity. It will be like so hard, you will slam onto the floor if you start to walk. So if you start, you will fall down. You will be so much in gravity and the mass will be so high on you. Say, if you are a little far away, say like you are in the distance like Mars or on Jupiter, what will happen?
Can you ask the question again, sir?
Okay, you are right now standing on Mercury. Mercury is about 0.3 astronomical unit from the sun. Okay, gravity is so high. Okay, so you can't even walk. If you try to walk, you will fall down. Okay, now you are on the surface of Mars. Mars about has 1/6 gravity of our Earth. Okay, so if you try to walk, you will jump for some time and you will go for a little distance and then you can drop again. So this is because of how close we are to the sun. Correct? The sun's gravity is holding us together, and this is the way in which centripetal action is happening. It's too tough for you. Okay? You are very tough with physics. Who likes science more?
I love science.
Lakshya, do you like science?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay.
I like
So everybody likes science. Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
I
Fine.
don't like science, sir. I just raised my hand because I had a question.
Okay, fine. So next time, if you are trying to swim, if you are going for swimming in your swimming pool, try to take two things, okay, in your hand. Take a small rock in your left hand and take a rubber ball on your right hand, okay. Put it on the surface. See how much it's going to affect on if you are holding it both at the same time and you are going to go down and you're going to sit down and try to swim up, okay. Your left hand will automatically fall deep into your pool, whereas your right hand will try to float up. So you will be like this, you will be stretched like this. That is gravity acting on two different states, that is, which is heavy in mass, which is light in mass. So like that, every planet is different and you can observe the planetary action by using your telescope. Okay, next question.
So now can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Instead of sending a message, why don't they straightly take a trip to the new Kepler's planet, and why don't they just go and ask? Because only in the other year they'll find it.
Okay.
So instead of that, they can just travel there and see what it's like.
Okay. Are you willing to travel for 20
Too
years?
far, sir.
Are you willing to travel for 20 years of your life? 20 years, no other thing. You are only about to travel deep into the space. No exams, no online classes, no work, no nothing. You have to only manage a spaceship and you have to fly that spaceship for 20 years. Are you ready?
Abhi?
Abhi?
Yes. Sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Sana and Aryan, you have to join the singing class now, ma. You have the link, right?
Yes,
Join
ma'am.
the class, ma. Yeah, thank you.
Are you willing to travel, Lakshya, for 20 years of your life?
No.
No? Then
Well, want to work, they can just have the laptop keep working.
you can't do
Because the money is in the space.
Yeah, because for a human to survive in space, they also need some things. So they need to have food, they need to have water, they need to have gravity, and they need to exercise and all these things. Can you not live without walking for about 20 years? You will not be walking at all.
You can walk a little.
We'll get obese.
You might. Okay, have you seen the movie called Wall-E? Wall-E?
Yes, sir. Wally.
Have you seen the movie?
My mother told me to watch.
Yes, sir. I saw the movie.
Okay, you go.
That the people all will be obese.
How much, Wally?
You can watch the movie Wall-E. Okay, Nitin, show Wall-E to Lakshya. Ask her to watch it, and then you can ask the question. What happens if you start traveling for 1,000 years into the sky? Okay.
Sir, but I watched the trailer. I totally hate it.
You will love it when you watch it one more time. Just give it a try. Okay. There is a very, very good song in that movie. That's a very famous song in that movie. That is a ballet between two robots. The two robots will start to do ballet in the sky. It's a music that even many composers are still wondering how they made it. Okay. It's a very good movie.
And they're looking for life on the
It was very nice, sir, the movie.
He's
I and my father made Wally robot.
Okay. He's trying to sleep. You are feeling very tired. I think. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Is it Tejas?
Tejas, are you feeling tired? No, you're not feeling tired. Okay. When did you lose your teeth? You play? When did you lose your teeth?
He also lose. He also is
Yesterday.
going to lose.
Yesterday.
He's going to lose his teeth.
Oh, you are going to lose his teeth. Okay. Why Tejas? What happened? Why did it fall down? Fall down. Can't hear you, Kana. Why did it fall down? I can't hear you. Okay, fine, no problem. So when I was your age, I used to be very playful. That is, I used to jump around walls. I used to climb trees and all. So I used to have very energetic life. So what happened was gravity was not so favorable for me. I had bruises all over my hands, my legs. Luckily, I did not have any teeth fall.
I also am a little bit energetic and naughty, but I do not climb trees and all.
Lakshya,
I
1
have
second, hold on.
Yeah.
Lakshya.
I've
Yeah,
climbed once,
Tejas,
but
Tejas, please join the singing class, ma.
Everybody is leaving for singing.
I have singing class at 6 to 7.
Okay.
We have 2 batches.
Okay. So
That's why people are leaving.
okay, fine. This session is done, or should we have any questions? You can ask me any questions you have.
Sir, can you ask 2 questions?
Me, 2 questions. Okay. Okay. Why are you so not favorable for having life on the other planet? What is the meaning for you to not have life on another planet?
We don't have oxygen or the things which human requires.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you heard the news about phosphine on the Venus atmosphere? You know what is phosphine?
It's a gas.
It's a gas. Phosphine is a gas. Yes, correct. So it's a kind of gas that is given out by certain kind of bacteria. Okay. This phosphine gas is given by bacteria which is at highly acidic nature. Where can you find such kind of bacteria in the world? Which is
No
most
idea, sir.
what is most acidic in the world? Which is so hot, which is a place where you can find so hot and so humid climate in the world. Something that is glowing all the time. It is like the surface of the sun all the time.
Netherlands?
Netherlands.
No, it's very cold, sir.
Okay, okay. Something that has to be in the color of yellow.
No idea, sir.
Okay. Which is the deepest place in the entire ocean?
Mariana Trench.
Okay, Mariana Trench. What is there on the bottommost point of the Mariana Trench?
Some acids.
Not acids. There are aqueducts. Aqueducts are like tubes that go deep into the sea and even to the surface, and from which there can be an escape of hot magma. What is magma?
Magma is a hot lava-like thing.
Okay. So what can survive in that temperature?
Nothing.
That is where you are wrong. That is where you are wrong. You bacteria can survive on that extremities, and scientists believe that these same conditions are also there in the planet Venus. So if bacteria can live in another planet, there can be also other lives. So that's why candidates like Enceladus, Titan, Europa, Io, all these moon systems have a possibility that there can be life. Titan is about as big as our Earth itself. You know, it's actually a moon, but it is as big as our planet Earth. But Titan, it will take us about okay, now we are on the transit time. So it will take us about 20 years or somewhere around 17 years for us to reach Titan. So the next possible time for us to go behind and capture Titan's gravity would be somewhere in between 2030 or 2040. So by that time, we might get answers whether there is a possibility that other lives can live on other planets. Until then, we can only explore Mars. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.